So welcome to a new Trippy Guides video, and in this video I am going to share with you a detailed day-by-day itinerary of your South Africa trip. I have already created a South Africa detailed guide video in which you can find all the other information about expenses, interesting facts about South Africa, where to stay, visa, and all the other information using which you can plan your next adventurous trip to South Africa. So let's get started with this video. In South Africa, there are a lot of airports. There's Johannesburg, Cape Town, George Airport, Port Elizabeth Airport. So on day one, we landed from Bangalore to Johannesburg Airport. It was a 13 hours journey with a break at Addis Ababa in Ethiopia.
And then we had already booked a shuttle with our hotel.
Now they say that South Africa is not the safest country in the world, but honestly हमें अभी तक ऐसा कुछ feel नहीं हुआ है. But we are also being extra vigilant.
When you go to a city like Johannesburg, there are a lot of safe and unsafe areas, and obviously as a tourist you would not know. And when you, let's say, land at a airport or at the airport in Johannesburg or in any other city at night, then it's better that आप अपने होटल के साथ coordinate करके उनको बोलो that they'll pick you up from the airport instead of रात को you trying to book a cab and you not even know whether कौन सी cab company safe है नहीं safe है, कौन सी area safe है. So it's best कि आप जब भी first time land होते हो and अगर रात का time है, so you coordinate with your hotel, ask them to pick you up. On day 2, you leave from Johannesburg and head towards Kruger National Park. So Johannesburg to Kruger National Park ka distance is around 450 kilometers, and there are 2 ways in which you can reach Kruger. Actually 3 ways. One is you can rent a car and self-drive. The second is you can book yourself a seat in a shuttle that will pick you up from the Johannesburg airport and drop you near your lodge at Kruger. And the third option is you can fly from Johannesburg airport to, I think there are 2 airports close to this Kruger Park. One is Nelspruit and the other is Hoedspruit. When we checked the flight tickets, they were quite expensive, like 12,000 rupees per person one way. So for the 2 of us, it would have costed us close to 50,000. So what we did was we spoke to our lodge owner, and she was very helpful and she booked us a seat in a shuttle. The company was Swift Shuttle. They depart from Johannesburg Airport at 7:45 a.m. and leave you at Kruger by 1:45 p.m. with 2 stops in between. And then यहाँ पे we were dropped at this gate called the Elephant West Gate, and वहाँ पे we had to pay entry fee, which is a conservation fee of 250 rand per person. So we got picked up in that jeep, and then we reached this beautiful property of Toro Yaka Lodge. And on day 2, once you reach here, you'll go for your very first game drive in the afternoon. Game drive is basically the open jeep safari, जो कि आप national parks like Kruger में करते हो तो उसे game drives बोलते हैं. So yeah, on day 2 we went for our game drive, open jeep safari, and we had a very close encounter with lions that you can see in our day 2 vlog. We also had a sundowner where we saw the sunset and had few drinks and something to eat, and then we came back to our lodge and then we had dinner, and that was the end of day 2. On your third day, you will wake up at 6 a.m. There will be a wake-up call at 5:30 a.m. and you get dressed up and you leave after having tea, coffee, some biscuits, and then you leave for your game drive, spot some animals. So when we went for our first morning game drive, we saw zebras, giraffes, elephants really up close, lots of birds, a beautiful sunrise, and then we stopped near a watering hole, had tea, coffee, some snacks to eat, and then we were back at our lodge by 9:30 a.m. and then we had breakfast and then we were free by 10 a.m. So 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. का time हमारे पास बिल्कुल free था. So on day 3 we were supposed to rest after coming back. But what happened was कि हमारे lodge के बिल्कुल सामने, like less than 50 meters away from our lodge, we saw 4-5 zebras and 4 giraffes, and they were there at the small watering hole for like a couple of hours, and हम बैठ के बस उन्हें ही admire कर रहे थे. I was completely fascinated. They're so gorgeous, so beautiful. And then 2:30 is when the lunch is served. You have your lunch and then you leave for your afternoon safari at 3:30 p.m. So on day 4 in South Africa, we have come inside the Kruger National Park for a full day safari tour. So the resort or the lodge where we are staying, the Toroyaka Lodge, is actually located inside the Greater Kruger area, which fences the main Kruger Park, and it's a private reserve. So we thought, why not take a day trip inside the Kruger National Park itself, because there are some animals that you might not find in the private reserves. So I would recommend that when you're coming to South Africa and to this part of the country, then try and get both the experiences, stay in a private reserve and then take a day trip to Kruger. And our lodge, they packed a picnic breakfast and a picnic lunch for us, and we have been driving inside the park for 1.5 hours, and we have already seen giraffes, zebras, elephants, wildebeest, and we have the full day ahead of us to catch sight of a lot of animals and birds. So that's what we are going to do on day 4 in South Africa. On day 5 of our stay here, we took one last game drive, early morning game drive, came back for breakfast, and now we are on our way back to Johannesburg. We are going to go back to the Elephant West Gate, from where our shuttle will pick us, the same shuttle that dropped us a couple of days back. The shuttle is at 10:45 from here, and we should be in Johannesburg by 5 p.m. And once we reach our hotel in Johannesburg, we are just going to chill and sleep, because every day we are getting up at like 5 a.m. But it's been an amazing 4 days here. On our day 6 in South Africa, we said goodbye to Johannesburg and flew to Port Elizabeth early in the morning. We took the Fly Sapphire Airlines, and it was a 1.5 hours flight. After reaching here, we had already booked our rental car. So once we reached the Port Elizabeth airport, we picked up our car and started our drive towards Cape Town. The first stop that we did was Tsitsikamma Game Park, but if you have already done Kruger, then I would recommend that you skip Tsitsikamma and directly come to this point where I am right now, which is the Tsitsikamma National Park. And inside Tsitsikamma National Park, you must visit this suspension bridge, which is the highlight of this park. You have to pay an entrance fee of 280 rand per person, and then you can do a 1 kilometer long trail called the Mount Trail, which will take you like 45 minutes, and you can go to the lookout point through these suspension bridges. After this, we are going to go to our hotel in Knysna, and that is our plan for day 6. This place, or the Tsitsikamma National Park, is also the start of the epic garden route, which is considered to be one of the most scenic road trips in the entire world. So the garden route is a 300 kilometer stretch, and it starts from Tsitsikamma National Park and goes all the way to Mossel Bay.
South Africa is home to many wonderful hikes, and on our day 7 we chose to do one of the most beautiful ones, the Robberg Nature Reserve hike. We were staying at the Knysna Hollow Country Estate, and from there it was a short 40 kilometers drive to reach the reserve.
And we paid an entry fee of 60 rand per person. So there are 3 hikes of varying difficulties and varying time. The first one is the Gap, then you have the Witsand hike, and the longest and a little difficult hike is the Point. If you are doing the Gap trail, which is the first one, it will take you like 1 hour round trip, and if you're doing Witsand, which is what we did, it will take you like 3.5 hours round trip. And if you're doing the longest one, which is Point, then it's going to take you like 6 to 7 hours, and it's only advisable for people who are into hiking, and it can be a little strenuous. So accordingly choose the hiking trail that you want to do here.
After finishing the hike, you can head to Knysna Heads, which is a dramatic viewpoint, especially during sunsets. Before ending the day, we went for dinner at Muse Fusion Food, which is conveniently located right opposite our hotel and serves some delicious food. On day 8, you will check out from your Knysna hotel and continue your garden route road trip heading towards Mossel Bay, which is an important town on the route. After driving for an hour on the scenic coastal roads, you will reach Point Road on Mossel Bay. You can spend some time walking around and enjoying the vibe of this place. Point Road is also famous as a dolphin lookout point, and if you are lucky you can watch them from the shoreline. Your next stop for the day would also be one of the most unique places in entire Africa. You will drive around 280 kilometers to reach the town of Bredestop, where you can refuel your car. If you are also starting from Knysna, make sure to start on a full tank and then refuel in the town of Bredestop before proceeding to Hermanus. You will finally reach Cape Aghulas, the southernmost tip of Africa, and also the point where Indian and Atlantic Ocean meet. Unique, right? Keep driving past the lighthouse to reach the signboard that says you are now at the southernmost tip of the continent of Africa. Get yourself clicked at this significant milestone and enjoy the coastal views. If you reach here before 5:30 pm, you can visit the Cape Aghulas lighthouse as well for some spectacular views. From Cape Aghulas, it's another 130 kilometers drive to reach your final destination for the day, Hermanus, which is also known as the whale watching capital of the world. At Hermanus, our stay was at the wonderful Gables apartment and would highly recommend it. After checking in, you can head for dinner at Burgundy's Cafe, and that would be the end of day 8. Day 9 would be the most adventurous day of your trip, as today you will get ready to meet the great white sharks. A short 30 minutes drive from Hermanus and you will arrive at Hans Bay, famous for shark cage diving. We had booked our excursion with the Great White Sharks tour and would definitely recommend them. They informed us a day before to report at 6 am, and so we had to leave really early from Hermanus. After a quick briefing, some form filling and breakfast, you will depart for your excursion. It can get quite windy on the boat, so carry along a jacket with you. On the way, you will spot a lot of seagulls and birds. Once you reach the diving spot, the cage will be lowered in water, you will be given wetsuits to wear, and chum will be thrown in the water to attract the sharks. If you are lucky, you will spot the great white sharks approaching and get in the cage to get face to face with them. Unfortunately, we had no sighting, even though we waited for more than an hour. The recent orca presence had scared away all the sharks from the area. I hope you all have a better luck sighting the sharks. It will definitely be a once in a lifetime experience. You'll then head to Geyser Rock and Dyer Island to spot hundreds of Cape fur seals and some penguins. We at least had a good sighting here. You'll be back by noon and you can spend the rest of the day resting or just walking around in Hermanus. On day 10, we had planned to go for whale watching, but unfortunately due to bad weather conditions, all boat trips for the subsequent 3 days were cancelled. If your boat trip goes as planned, then your first half will be spent watching the Southern Right whales. You can book your tour with Southern Right charters. They have some really great reviews. Also, June to November is the whale watching season in Hermanus, peaking in October during the whale watching festival. After returning from whale watching, you can check out from your stay, have breakfast and take a walk along Gering's Point or Cliff Path, from where you can spot more whales during the right season. Once you're done exploring Hermanus to your heart's content, leave for Cape Town, where your first destination will be the epic Chapmans Peak Drive. This drive features in the world's most scenic coastal routes list and totally lives up to its tag. It's a 9 kilometers drive, but will take you so long as you will be stopping every now and then to admire the stunning views. You can end your day by visiting the vibrant V&A waterfront area, a great place for some shopping, food and partying. For your last day in South Africa, you can head towards the Tabletop Mountain Viewpoint. A cable car takes you up the mountain, from where you get panoramic views of Cape Town. However, often the mountain is covered in a blanket of clouds and the cable car is closed, which is also what happened with us. You can then drive to Boulders Beach in Simonstown, home to the African jackass penguins, a must visit place. It was a treat to watch the little penguins hop around and take a dip in the ocean. Next, head to Cape Peninsula National Park, home to Cape of Good Hope and Cape Point, where you can spend a couple of hours. Get yourself clicked with the Cape of Good Hope signage board, which tells you that it is the most southwesternly point of Africa. You can get nice scenic views of the coastline from here. Drive a little further to reach Cape Point. A funicular called the Flying Dutchman takes you to the top, or you can even hike on a bright sunny day. From the top, you get superb views of the cliff and the ocean. You can then walk to the Cape Point Lighthouse. To return to Cape Town from Cape Peninsula, you can again take the Chapman's Peak route. If you have time before your flight, you can walk around Cape Town getting a feel of this vibrant city. For your return flight, head to Cape Town Airport, and before dropping your rental car, make sure to fuel up the tank. There's a petrol station at the airport too, so you are sorted. This was the end of our 11-day South Africa trip. We then flew to our next destination, Mauritius, where we spent the next few days.
So this was all the information that I wanted to share with you. that will help you plan your next adventurous trip to South Africa. In case if you have any questions or feedback, do let me know in the comment section below, and hope you all enjoyed watching this video. So take care and happy traveling.